Hello, and welcome to our second UBS pre-concert talk for the Bangor Symphony Orchestra's 128th season. My name is Renya Sterenberg. I am the Executive Director of the BSO, and I will be your host. Today I have with me BSO Music Director and Conductor, Lucas Richmond. Hi, Lucas.
Hi, everyone.
And our guest soloist for this concert, Mezzo-Soprano Michelle DeYoung, who is joining us from Bloomington, Indiana. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, everyone.
I would like to thank the sponsors for this season's pre-concert talk series, UBS Argosy Wealth Management. Thank you so much for your continued support. I would also like to thank our guest artist sponsor for this concert, Birchbrook. This concert takes place live and in person on Sunday, November 19th, 2023 at 3 p.m. at the Collins Center for the Arts. If you are unable to attend this concert in person, but would like to experience it, we are offering a digital ticket, which you can purchase through our website. This concert will be available on our digital platform from November 29th through December 13th. Our program for this concert, which is titled Star-Crossed, Romeo and Juliet, includes music by Debussy, Wagner, and Prokofiev. Lucas and Michelle, I'd love it if you would start us off here by talking to us about the Wagner. And I have a few slides that will talk us through the piece a bit. But before we get to that, I have to say I am a little starstruck having you with us today, Michelle. I remember 8 years ago when you sang in the production of Salome with Opera San Antonio. You were Herodias. Am I saying that right?
That's correct.
And you were great. You were like so great. And as I was preparing this pre-concert talk, I Googled you because that's what people do, right? They Google each other. And your Wikipedia page, I don't know if you know this or not, but it has a photo of you and Sir Patrick Stewart. And it was taken, there it is. Look, I pulled it up. And it was taken, let's see here, I wrote this down. You performed together with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. That must have been so much fun. And
it was so much fun.
Was it great? I pulled up the
Yeah.
Opera San Antonio. There you are, Michelle DeYoung.
Yeah.
So cool. But yeah, I mean, you seem to have you've gone a lot of places. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I've really had an incredible career sort of all over the world, but that was Oedipus Rex, and he was the narrator for it. So he was actually in the same concert. And then just recently I did it in Dallas, and it was Kyle MacLachlan from Twin Peaks. He was the narrator. And it's just fun. It's just kind of fun. And they're both so nice. It was really lovely.
Oh, wow. Well, that's
How
great.
fun is that?
I know, right? I mean, the things you can find on the internet.
The thing that you maybe don't know about Wikipedia, I'm sure, Lucas, you know this, but we do not run our own Wikipedia page.
I know.
My Wikipedia page is run by somebody in India.
Yep.
I don't know the person.
Yep.
And if I try to change anything on my Wikipedia page, it will be changed back.
Oh yeah, no, it's not like legitimate or anything, but like you really did do that show.
Oh yeah, that's totally legit.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah.
Anyway, that was my little 2 cents on this one, but I'm going to sit back now, and I would like to please ask Maestro Richmond to start us off with discussion on Wagner and what we're going to be doing with our upcoming performance with you, Michelle.
So our program we feature Michelle DeYoung singing the role of Isolde in this very famous Liebestod. Have you sung? I know you've sung Tristan. I mean, you've sung in the opera, and in fact, you've sung at Bayreuth. Is that?
I have sung at Bayreuth, but it was Kundry in Parsifal. But I have sung Brangena at the Met and at La Scala, and the role of Brangena from Tristan.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I mean, I can't even imagine being immersed in that music on stage in such a way. So Wagner's music is it just enfolds you into this extraordinary sound mass. And the first time I had the chance to hear you sing was singing music of Wagner. I had actually had the chance to conduct for you in a competition, the Lauren Zachary Awards in the Los Angeles area. And you did two arias. One was Wagner. Which what was that? Do you remember?
It was Waltrauta's aria from Götterdämmerung.
Oh my gosh. And then also music of is it Massenet?
No, it was Cesson,
Oh,
Mon Cœur, Samson
right, right.
Delight.
Oh,
Yeah,
Samson Delaya. Oh, right, right, right. And this is 1995 or so.
yes.
And I don't know if you remember, but Licia Albanese was there, and she was one of the judges, and she absolutely adored your voice.
Well, we
Uh,
got to do a master class with her, which really to this day I have such an imprint of that experience. I was terrified to sing for her because someone went before me and sang Butterfly, which is quite, if you're going to do a master class, you might not sing the role the person is most known for, but she did, and it was a bit difficult, and I was so scared to go up there. And then I went up there, and she could not have been sweeter, and she's probably half my height, being 6'1". But
right.
she was really so charming and lovely.
And I mean, and she was just she was. I did have a chance to interact with her during the day. We had like 22 arias to prepare in 3 hours time, and then like a couple hours later to sing through everything. It was tremendous. Um, but she was so unassuming in everything that she did.
Yeah,
Uh, so you've sung Götterdämmerung, and what other Wagner roles have you been able to do?
I've sung Venus in Tannhäuser, and I've sung Sieglinde and Fricka and Waltrauta in The Ring, and one of the Valkyries when I was a young artist. Um, and I've sung Ortrud in Lohengrin,
Oh
and
my goodness,
oh yeah, there's Bayreuth, and I've sung
there's
Kundry.
Bayreuth.
Have you ever sung
Um,
there?
yeah, I sang Kundry there in
Oh,
Parsifal.
it's amazing.
So how
Tell
did
Yeah.
it
us
feel
about this
to
location. Yeah.
how did it feel to be there singing Wagner in Bayreuth?
It's such an interesting place because the whole city, that's what it is. It's all about the Wagner family and Wagner. And the Wagner family is quite a powerful family. I was incredibly fortunate because I sang there with Pierre Boulez, and who I always called my musical grandfather. I loved him very much. We worked a lot together, and he was adamant. I had never sung the role before, and he told them, "I want Michelle DeYoung to sing it." And I was like, "I've never sung it," but I did, and then I came back the next year and sang it with him. And that was the last opera he ever conducted. So it was quite an honor to actually get to do that. And to sing on that stage it's extraordinary because it was built for Parsifal. So it was such an amazing experience because the orchestra is underneath the stage. But our set was by Christoph Schwiegensief was our director, and it was completely open. So we didn't get all the benefits of being on that set because we didn't have a back to our set. But no, it was such a special experience, and to see our dressing rooms are on the side of what you're seeing in that picture. They're on the side, and you can look out and watch all the people walking around the opera house during the opera. And there's always a big dinner break, and they're all eating, and it's such an amazing atmosphere. So it was really, really an honor to sing there.
And have you attended? Have you seen a ring? I know you've done the ring. Where did you do the ring?
I've done the ring I did it at the Met. I've done it in Hong Kong in recording. I've done it in Hamburg, uh,
Hmm.
LA. God, I totally forgot LA. I don't know if Chicago. I did it in Chicago, all those opera houses.
So these are Wagner is known primarily for his operas, of course. Um, and the ring cycle is, um, uh, I mean, the guy had an ego.
Yeah, a little.
um, And I mean, but remarkable. I mean, the fact that he wrote the entire libretto for The Ring, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
Um, but Tristan really changed the direction of musical history because people talk about the Tristan chord.
Hmm.
Uh, and it is after the cello play this opening minor sixth, this leap, and they
Oh,
descend, and then the chord that happens on that next downbeat is enigmatic, and you don't know which way it's going to resolve, and it suddenly opens up chromaticism or 12 tone music, or we don't know where it's going to go because it's just no longer affiliated with a traditional in romantic era, the traditional hierarchy of tonic and dominant and that sort of thing. It exploded, and that chromaticism, that where the notes can go this way and go this way and ascend, it creates an underpinning of the whole idea of the search, the like ultimate love. And forgive me, have you had a chance to sing Isolde in?
I've never done the entire role. I have sung the third act and I've sung the Liebestod many times. And I was supposed to sing the second act in Helsinki a couple of years ago, and I got a terrible bout of strep, so I had to cancel.
Mm,
So that's all I've had with Isolde.
um,
And for those of us
but
that don't speak German, Liebestod, what does that mean?
It
love.
translates as love. It actually says love, death, but yeah,
Dying for
that's the
love?
literal translation.
Yeah, interesting.
And that I guess with is the idea that in ultimate love there is, I mean, there's nothing beyond that. Uh,
You will die for love, right? Is
right.
the idea.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, so what Wagner did is he took the introduction to the opera, the prelude, and then piece it together. Is this the Liebestod is the last, just about the last thing that happens in the
It's
opera,
the
isn't it?
very last thing in the opera.
Yes. So he tied the beginning to the end, um, and Ren, you found this page in Wagner's hand, which is quite extraordinary to see.
I did. You know where I found it? I found it in my CD case. You know, we used to buy CDs, right? I have a whole CD collection that people make fun of me for all the time, but I do have it. And one of the CDs that I have is actually on the EMI label with Placido Domingo singing. And I read through it. It has the libretto. It has the big book. You know, it has the libretto. It has an introduction. It's translated in 3 different languages. And in the back, and it has pictures too of like Tristan and Isolde through the ages as artists have represented them. The very last page has this manuscript. I was reading through it this weekend and I was like,
Beautiful.
Lucas, look what I found. And, you know, yeah, it's kind of cool.
And, Rennie, if you could take your mouse and just
Oh,
point to, can you go to the top system and go over to the right, further, like keep going, and right about there, right there. So you can see how the upper line has this chromaticism, ba dee da dee da, and it as the bottom system pulls down, and that's what he's constantly doing. With the notes are rising up, and the lower notes are going down. It's uh, um, the Wagner prepared this as a piece that can be done with or without the mezzo-soprano. It's sometimes done with just the prelude and Liebestod without the voice. But I am so thrilled that you're going to be singing this with us,
It's
Michelle.
such a beautiful, the way it goes from the prelude into the Liebestod, it works so beautifully. And it's like you say with the music, how the one thing Wagner was so very good at is in the complexity of his music was really the story of what you're hearing. And this is definitely the whole love, the give and the take and the fight of the love and them finally getting together and then him die. The music represents all of that story.
It is ultimate passion. I mean,
Yes.
you can't get any more than that. I mean, it's just, oh, I can't.
It was a love potion, wasn't it? Like, isn't there a love potion involved in some,
Yeah.
right? In the opera? Yeah. So it's an I don't know, makes it even more dramatic.
Well, that they say, I mean, it depends on your production, quite frankly. There is a love potion. I've been in productions that say that it was fake, that there is no love potion. They don't take the love. It's just all these different, people interpret it all different ways. But that is the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think people like the romantic idea better, that there is no love potion and that they were just in love with each other and it turned into something.
Yeah.
And maybe the love potion
sing?
is just alcohol and made them less, made them less nervous.
Is it hard to sing? I'm curious. Is this a difficult, like, how long do you have to live with this?
Ren, you could take the page down.
Of course.
Wagner is incredibly hard to sing. But the hardest thing, let's see, Venus is very, very difficult. Orchard is very difficult. Kundry is, like, I remember learning Kundry going, this is unsingable. This is not, no one can sing this. So it took me a while to get that into my voice. The Liebestod itself is very difficult and does take a while to get into your voice, but it's not that terribly long. The whole third act is hard. Although Isolde only sings at the end of the act, it's quite dramatic what she sings when she realizes that Tristan is dead.
Do you find yourself, what do you do to get out of the Wagner mode when you're singing other roles? I mean, if you've done a certain kind of, what kind of preparation is different in that way, or how you hold yourself, or
yeah. Well, interestingly, when I was so I was a young artist at the Met a few years ago, and it was easier for me when I started to sing, when my voice really started to get trained, to sing Wagner than it was for me to sing Mozart, because I have this very large instrument, and that was a more natural thing for me to do. But the stresses come in, when you're having to sing high C's or high B's and then go down to low A or whatever. That's definitely what makes it difficult. But I'm sorry, I forgot your question. That's ridiculous.
Well, just like going between Wagner roles and other
roles.
Yeah.
So like how I teach my students and how I think good singing is good singing. I think you should sing something of Wagner the same way you sing something of Schubert. It will take a different, maybe the range is different, but like right now I'm working on the Mahler Songs of the Wayfarer, and I'm working on this for this concert. So, I'm going back and forth between those two. And then I have a concert coming up where I'll be singing some Bach and some Haydn, and and Brahms. So it's just, I just try to sing everything really healthy and well. The thing I've sung most actually in my career is Bluebeard's Castle by Bartók.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
my
sung
goodness.
that like all over the world, and still this spring I'm singing it in Hamburg and in San Francisco, and so I get the opportunity to sing a lot, and I love it. I absolutely love singing it.
One of my least favorite pieces.
Is that right? Really?
I have to be honest. I saw a performance that was very fine performance with the Cleveland Orchestra, and I don't think you were singing.
It was me.
You were.
I am sure it was me.
With Eschenbach.
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe with Matthias Gerna.
I don't remember. It was about 15 years ago, or something.
Oh, it could possibly have been me.
Oh, extraordinary. The performance was fabulous, but I came away thinking, this is such a horrible, horrible story.
Yes,
And
it's horrible.
why, as a composer, would you want to be immersed in this and just create this thing that is so dreadfully awful?
And it ends horribly. I mean,
It's
it's
yeah,
so spooky and weird. But if
yeah.
you, the music part of it is so
No, the
amazing. It's
music
so
is
fun to
fabulous.
sing.
No, I just meant that as a
That's
theatrical.
hilarious. You're right. I agree.
Now, we had a chance to also interact when you came to Pittsburgh. I was a staff conductor with the Pittsburgh Symphony, resident conductor, and Morris Janssens was finishing up his time there, and for one of his last blowout concerts, he wanted to do Beethoven 9, and there you were.
Yeah.
What a joy it was to reconnect. Um, but
Beethoven 9 is really nice for the mezzo because basically you just have to look nice and be heard.
and
It's-
and being heard is not easy to do in that because where he has you
yeah.
placed,
Yeah.
it sometimes gets lost. But
I love
being
Beethoven, but Beethoven did not write well for the voice.
no, no, and not a lot for not a lot for you.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, um, but it has been almost 30 years since I've conducted for you, so I'm really looking forward to.
I changed a little.
Haven't we all? Uh, uh, well, so in addition to the opera, so you're doing the Mahler, so you do song cycles.
I do. So my whole career has actually predominantly been concerts. I do 1 or 2 staged operas a year, and the rest is all concerts, which I am really thankful of. I love it. So that includes recitals and orchestra concerts and chamber concerts and things like that.
And now you're at IU at Indiana
Now I
University.
teach here. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a huge department with the operas and what kind of studio are you having now?
It's massive. I have 18 students. I had 19, but one got ill and had to fly back to China. So I have 18 students, and they work really hard. I love them. In fact, I do some little studio concerts with them and things like that, and they're doing great. I have a few that are out starting to do auditions for Maryland and the Met in Chicago, and so it's exciting.
Oh, how fun is
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Oh, that's so delightful.
That's great.
I have not actually been there, but I have. I mean, there's such a history. I'm just reading another book about Bernstein, written by one of his assistants, Charlie Harmon. He talks about writing. Speaking of opera, writing his opera, A Quiet Place, at IU, and he was there for about 6 weeks, just as a kind of composer in residence, and utilizing the students of the university to sing through the roles for the first time.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being one of those students picked to do that? That's amazing.
I know, I know.
But I can see why he would do A Quiet Place here in Bloomington. It is a bit quiet compared to New York City.
Very quiet.
It's charming though. It's such a charming little
Great.
town.
Just lock yourself in a practice room. Just practice away, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Less distractions.
Mhm.
So are you working? You do work with men and women.
Yes, I work with all voice types.
Yeah. Um, uh, and and are they specifically gearing for? I mean, again, recitals and opera because they all.
Most are wanting opera. I make them do recitals, but most have that goal. Some just want to be on stage. Some are. I have one that she just wants to be on stage, and I don't think she would care if it was as a Shakespeare actress, if it was Broadway, or if it was opera. She just wants to be on stage. And then I have some that they want to do opera.
So how do you deal with the crossover? I mean, for those who do want to do uh, go both back and forth between Broadway in musical theater and opera.
Well, if they're in Jacob's School as a Bachelor of Music for voice, then they have to, or master's or doctorate, whatever. they have to train classically. They have to do a recital and things like that with classical music in it. But many of them also sing, crossover things, and we work on it. I just make sure they do it healthy.
Right.
That they don't belt and put pressure on it, because that's, in my opinion, belting and putting pressure on is what takes your top away. So I just try to teach them how to do it healthy. And I'm very big on support. I always tell them I should be paid twice, because I have a yoga mat, I have medicine balls, I have straps, I have Pilates, all these different things. And they work, they sweat. I just laugh.
But but singing is a very physical thing. It's not just,
It should be.
yeah, I mean, it's a full body experience.
Yeah,
Done,
yeah.
done.
And I think that a really, really good technique, which is very hard to teach, I'll admit that, but a very good technique can sort of help any vocal technique that you use. It can kind of get you through if you're really, really on your support.
Right, right. Richard Fredericks, did you know Richard?
No.
He was he worked often with the New York City Opera and the Met, and Georgia Frontieri in Los Angeles, who owned the Rams, liked to sing opera, and I played for years for their sessions, and Richard was her coach. He sang with Beverly Sills and all kinds of things, and he would always say, I should be able to wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning and have you sing high A flats, just because your technique is just, it's, at any time of day, you should be able to just draw on your technique.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like when you're really, I had a student last week who was sick, and she didn't tell me she was sick, and she was doing a recital, and she didn't tell me before. She started and it was really good, and then she started having an issue. And I was like, I'd never heard her have this issue. So I was just so shocked. And it was because she was sick. And she got through that recital on technique. And I could not have been more proud of her. It was that is so scary when you start having a vocal issue.
Right.
And she did great.
Now, we both grew up in the LA area.
I grew up in Colorado.
Colorado, okay, but you trained in you did.
I did. So my parents are from Holland, Netherlands, and they moved to LA as children. And my dad is one of 13, so I have tons of family in LA.
Wow.
Yeah, like from my grandparents down, there were over 200 people. And so tons and tons of family in LA. And my father is a minister, and part of his ministry was in the LA area.
Okay.
So we had, because of that, when I started school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to a private school in Michigan. And then when I decided to go into singing, I transferred to Cal State Northridge.
Right, right. Which was in 20 minutes from my house.
Oh, right.
Because I grew up in the Valley. So.
Oh, right. Yeah. So my dad was from, he lived in Saticoy in North Hollywood. And I always lived in like off of Nordhoff, right by Northridge. My mom lived off of Sunset Boulevard.
Amazing.
So,
yeah, I know. I went to Cal State Northridge every weekend for the youth orchestra.
oh, right.
Yeah.
That's
Played
so
violin. Yeah, absolutely. So do you count your vocal training? Who of your mentors really had the most impact, do you think?
Well, my teacher at Cal State Northridge, I was really lucky because when I auditioned there, I hadn't done anything. And they saw the talent and they put on operas for me. I didn't study with the head of the voice department. I studied with Kurt Allen, and he had me do the Met competition, which I won. And I left school to go to the Met and be a young artist. And I finished my degree later online. So then when I was a young artist at the Met, Gail Robinson was the head of it. She just, I was so very fortunate that she was the head of it at that time, because I came in and, I hadn't done any competitions. I hadn't even done the Zachary's at that time. I hadn't done anything except the Met. And everybody else is so polished and everybody, I didn't know anything. And so they really took care of me. And Levine was like, okay, we're going to just keep you hibernating for a couple of years. And they really took care of me, and I got amazing training. My voice teacher after the first year was Trish McCaffrey. And she was I think she was the biggest. She really gave me my technique. I teach that technique now, and supporter. She was just an incredible supporter and throughout my career.
Tremendous. I mean, we think about our mentors, and especially as we're teaching, we think about those that gave to us and what we're passing on.
Yeah, I still text her. I'll like text her and say, okay, I have this issue. What should I do? And she'll send me back something. And so it's great.
That is so beautiful. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, I can't wait to have you here
I'm so excited. I'm so looking forward to it.
we're going to have a wonderful time. It's great music, and I think our audiences will just be absolutely blown away by hearing you sing.
I hope so. But the program is so lovely. I think the whole program is really interesting, and I'm excited for it.
Thank you, thank you. Well, safe travels, and
Thank you.
I'll see you in Bangor very soon.
Yes,
Okay, I'll see you soon.
Michelle.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye, Michelle.
So Lucas, you and I will continue our travels here. And let's talk about what is going to open our program, shall we? Little
Yes.
Debussy.
Yes, absolutely. So Claude Debussy wrote the Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, and this work is it is it's a symphonic poem, and it's just about 10 minutes long, but it's so extraordinary in its storytelling nature. It's not a very. It was inspired by a poem by Mallarmé, and it's really emblematic of impressionistic music, evocative, creating an environment. When you think about the impressionistic, the painters, Debussy really does this with so many colors, magical colors in the orchestration, the same way that a visual artist would conjure up on a canvas. You see there that he is written in 1894. The numbers at the bottom of this listing, I just wanted to share this. This is kind of a orchestral shorthand to let people in the musical library and this and that know what is needed in the orchestra. So he writes for 3 flutes, 3 oboes, with the third oboe part being an English horn, 2 clarinets, 2 bassoons, and then this next grouping, he has 4 horns. There are no trumpets, no trombones, and no tuba. And then there's 1 percussion, and then we have 2 harps, and then the full string orchestra. So what he just to maybe give a comparison, of a typical Beethoven symphony, for instance, might have 2, 2, 2, 2, so 2 flutes, 2 oboes, 2 clarinets, 2 bassoons, and then 2 horns and 2 trumpets. So you'd see 2, 2, 2, 2, and then 2, 2, 0, 0, and then timpani and strings. And that's basically how we do that shorthand to know what the orchestration is and what forces we have on stage. Debussy uses the English horn because, and he would often use other flutes like the alto flute to create even more range of color in his orchestration. It is not typical to have 2 harps, but he definitely wanted to be able to utilize. There were just too many gestures and nuances that he wanted to bring, that he needed to have 2 harps in this portrayal of this music. It was the piece is also has been a ballet, and earlier Michelle mentioned Pierre Boulez, who I had the chance to interact with
Oh, wow.
in Los Angeles. He actually did a master class with a composition of mine, and then I ended up later on conducting some of his music with the Pittsburgh Symphony. But Boulez considered this piece, this particular piece, to be perhaps the beginning of modern music. And specifically, what's so fascinating with the large forces on stage, the piece begins with just a solo flute.
Here's the
And
score. Yeah.
I thought we'd share here what the flutist sees. This is the flute part, and the orchestra doesn't come in until the middle of the fourth measure. And this descent, this not quite chromatic descent in the very beginning. It's not like every single half step, but descending to this tritone of the C sharp to the G. Um, uh, there's been a lot of debate with the performers, like, do you do this all in one breath? Is it possible to do this entire phrase in one breath, or do you take a breath someplace, in mid phrase? We'll see what happens when we do it.
Is that could that be a tempo thing, Lucas? Like, could that also be a choice
Absolutely, absolutely.
of the flutist?
Right, it is, and generally, I mean, I won't sit there and give the tempo to the flutist. It really needs to be, and this is where the collaboration is. It has to be where the flutist feels comfortable to be able to and free enough to make that scale and up and down and up
So
and
we're
down.
not going to see you trying to guide
Oh gosh,
the
no.
opening here. We're going to just watch the flute do
Yeah,
their thing.
that moment is not about the conductor. That moment is about the spotlight should be on the flute.
Mm. And I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, and what's beautiful about this is that throughout the piece, Debussy reharmonizes this um, motive very differently. Whereas the first, um, say, 20 bars are an oscillation between um, uh, basically just two chords, um, uh, and then he reharmonizes it every time you hear it, so it casts a different kind of light on the same material. Like you're hearing the same phrase, to be or not to be, but then you're suddenly casting with blue light or red light, and it means
Mm.
something completely different. And it's such a gorgeous, gorgeous piece of
And
music.
would this be something that, like, if I was a flutist, I would be studying this at Indiana University, where Michelle was just talking to us from, right? And this would be something that you would actually study like your entire life, these couple of bars at the beginning of this particular piece, right? It's an excerpt.
Exactly. And in auditioning for a first flute position, you will guaranteed be asked to play this in the
Mhm.
audition. It is this yeah, this is on the pantheon of
One of the big
flute.
ones, right? Well, we're looking forward to hearing this at our concert. And let's go ahead and talk about what is going to be the final piece on our program after intermission, which is the title of the whole thing, right? The star-crossed Romeo and Juliet. We're ending with the star-crossed lovers here with
Exactly. And
Prokofiev. So
many people know, of course, the Tchaikovsky fantasy
the Russians, they like their Shakespeare, huh?
so this is a very different setting than the Tchaikovsky. This is a full ballet of Romeo and Juliet, and but you mentioned, I mean, so as you see, Prokofiev was um, very prolific with writing all these the symphonies and film scores as well, and lots of chamber music. Peter and the Wolf is one of his most famous pieces
Mhm.
that became a staple of music education concerts
Yes.
in America and continues to this day. His Romeo and Juliet. Um, yes, the Russians love their Shakespeare, but Prokofiev uh, at first actually wrote a different ending to the Shakespeare play. It was originally written as with a happy ending, because with the sentiment that, well, dead characters can't dance. So
Wow.
once they die, they can't dance anymore, so they should continue dance. So,
I wasn't
um,
thinking outside the box, huh? I didn't want to
well,
bring them back in shadow or something.
so,
Sorry.
but there was enough outrage that he rewrote the proper ending,
Mm.
and we're doing. Prokofiev separated the music for the ballet into three different suites that could be done in concert. I have called together some of the more notable selections from the ballet into this suite of our own.
So
Um,
this is your choice here. Basically, you went through the score, the entire score, and you chose these very specific pieces of it in this very specific order, right?
exactly. Some of this music is the most well known, and also helps us kind of tell the story of Romeo and Juliet in encapsulation through this music.
So for those young people out there who maybe don't know the story of Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou? Romeo, it's like the only line I know from it. What is the story of Romeo and Juliet? Is it the same as Tristan and Isolde? Is this just like a story that carries through the ages?
Well, the idea that there are two warring families. If you've seen West Side Story, West Side Story is a modern retelling of the story of Romeo and Juliet.
That's right, actually. Yeah.
Two warring families in West Side Story is two warring gangs, and a boy from one of the gangs or one of the families falling in love with a girl from the other on the other side, and their love is so powerful that they through their love they hopefully teach um, their community, those around them, that love is more powerful and more important than whatever the disagreement
Yeah.
has been.
But it's
And
never,
often,
it's not a happy ending, unfortunately. It comes at a cost.
unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. But the first movement that we will be doing is the Montagues and the Capulets. So you hear the music of the two different families. And then through the course of the suite, we are introduced to the character of Juliet, and the music of Romeo. And also one of the more notable pieces is the death of Tybalt. And this is a, a big action piece in the ballet. We talked about excerpts for auditions for the flute with the Debussy. This is one of those excerpts that are played the violins. Right now, I know that they're practicing feverishly because
So,
uh,
as a former violinist, I can attest to this. I actually never
yes,
saw it on an audition list, but it is one of the things that you do practice furiously leading up to the first rehearsal. You know, you put in hours and hours and hours before you get on that stage because
yes,
yeah, it flies, man. It's fast.
right, and you
All that
hope
swordplay, right?
always exactly that's what it is, and you're hoping that the conductor doesn't take it too fast.
Guess we'll see, won't we?
I'm reasonable. I'm reasonable. Um, so it is dramatic music, and it being ballet, I love the storytelling aspect of this music, and Prokofiev is a master of depicting in the music the things that occur in the story. So you can really imagine, as you're listening to the music, you can imagine the story taking place. I always recommend that people listen to the music prior to coming to our concerts, because then when you come to the concert, it feels like an old friend you're uh, becoming reacquainted with, rather than it being. I mean, it's interesting to encounter something for the first time, of course, but I feel that when you come to a concert already having heard a piece, it is something that you could hear with much more depth and appreciate in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do this with my kids when I would be driving them places, for example, and I had them locked in the car with me. I would put on a very specific piece of classical music, Mozart or Beethoven or something. As they got older and I would take them to concerts, I would make sure that that piece was something we were about to go and hear, so that then, yes, they do, as kids, like, it's like, oh, I've heard this, or they know it's coming, right? They can anticipate what they're going to hear. However, I found that when my kids got older, they would be like, Mom, like, don't do that. Like, I don't want to hear this. I want to hear my pop songs or whatever. One thing that my older son actually told me once was, he said, I want to experience it for the first time. I want the first time that I hear this to be live in the concert hall, like that particular version of this piece. He said, so I don't want to hear it in the car on the way to the concert. And, so I think that on both sides of this, it's very fair to say, yes, there are great recordings. Go out there and listen to them, and then come and hear the old friend. But there's also something to say, come and close your eyes and listen to the story of Romeo and Juliet for the first
At
time.
one point, every piece that we play was heard for the first time. Every piece had a premiere, but there's a reason that they are repeated because they're so good. And for instance, like on our last concert, we did the Grieg Piano Concerto, and people might not have realized, oh, that's the piece. Oh, I'm hearing it live, because it's something that they have heard, and now they're seeing and experiencing. Oh, that's what that means. Oh, now I understand.
Orchestral music is everywhere.
Yeah,
It really is. It really is. And it's great. It's a part of our culture. It's part of who we are. And yeah, we love it, right? We love it.
absolutely.
Well, thanks, Lucas, for talking us through the program. I know I'm very excited to watch it come to fruition. And we have a couple of upcoming events as well that I would like to let our watchers know about. So this concert will be released as a digital concert. It's actually the live concert that is going to be not edited for you to watch on your screens. It will be available starting November 29th through December 13th. You can purchase those digital concert tickets at bangorsymphony.org, which is also where you can go to purchase the tickets for our live concert. We have a couple of other things coming up down the pipes here. Our Bangor Symphony Youth Orchestra's fall concert, right? I mean, how fun is this?
And the groups, I think we have 5 different performing groups that have been rehearsing since the end of September. And they're just wonderful. And if you haven't had a chance to experience the young people playing music, it is a joyous celebration. So I love being in attendance. I love to go to rehearsals if I can, of the youth orchestra, and our conductors do a fabulous job.
Oh, that is absolutely true. And I've been going to a couple of the rehearsals myself here, and it's a great group, great conductors. The concert is free. You don't need a ticket. You just show up. It's 4:00 p.m. on December 3rd at Peaks Auditorium in Bangor.
That's at the high school.
Yes, at Bangor High School. Thank you. The other thing, of course, is just holiday favorite, right? The Nutcracker. I played it every year of my life when I was a violinist, and I love it. I think it was my first paid gig, actually. No, I'm serious. Like, I think I was in high school. I maybe made like, I don't know, $100. And I was like, you're gonna pay me for this? Like, it was so much fun. And then
Yeah.
I played it 100 times since, and I love it. It's a great ballet. And Lucas, you conduct it here.
Yes, yes, I've been conducting it for a number of years now. I actually had never conducted the full ballet. I had conducted selections from the suites for various holiday concerts over the years. And when I came here and started conducting the full ballet, it's been a joy. And our collaboration with the Robinson Ballet and the Bangor area youth choirs. The youth choir sings at the end of the Act One in the beautiful snow waltz, and it's just such a magical moment.
Yeah,
So
let me ask you, Lucas, do you need to work with the dancers on the timings of these pieces? Because it's not like an aria, right? Like, again, we were talking to Michelle earlier, and sort of you can get the sense of how the singer needs to sing, but the dancers are dancing in time to the music. So how do you gauge the tempos of of the Nutcracker with the dancers?
It's a great question. Uh, I've come to know the tempi that the Robinson Ballet likes to do. But that being said, each year they have different guest artists in certain leading roles that might like. For instance, the Sugar Plum Fairy might like it a little faster or a little slower. So I just need to know that in advance. So we rehearse it that way, and that's how we do it in the performance. I'll tell you, I was in Los Angeles conducting an extraordinary production of Swan Lake. Um,
Oh, I love
uh,
that. Yeah.
and this was choreographed by Matthew Bourne. It was all male, Swan Lake. It was done on Broadway and in the West End in London. And it came to Los Angeles. I was supposed to get a rehearsal. I was not the main conductor. David Frame was the conductor, and I was supposed to get a rehearsal, and it never happened. And so the show opened, and they were doing 8 shows a week. And around the second week, I got the tap in my, like, okay, you're going to go in and do it. And I had never conducted it. I had never stood up in front of the orchestra, and I had never
How do you
done.
prepare for something like that?
I knew the score really well. But the awkward thing was that, I mean, the amazing thing, but it was different, is that Matthew Bourne choreographed many of the natural, like when people land, that's where downbeats were, but he choreographed things where people went up, that was a downbeat. So having to get used to bringing a downbeat when you knew they were jumping and they were preparing a jump. So it was remarkable. But after my first performance, having not ever done it before, the stage manager came to me and said, Maestro, the men of the corps would like to know if you could perhaps go a little slower next time. Your performance was 4 minutes faster than David with the Maestro Frame.
4 minutes, Lucas. Wow. I mean, for all you athletes out there, when it's like 4 seconds, that's huge, right?
Right, but they were so they must have been scrambling across that stage to match my tempos.
Maybe they thought you were upset with them or something.
No, I mean it was just the adrenaline. Okay,
Yeah.
I got through it. I got through it. Let's go to the next one.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's funny. Well,
But we will have the right tempo
for our
for
dancers,
our
they're gonna
dancers for the
go
Nutcracker.
spinning off the stage, right? You
Yeah.
will work with them. Well, that'll be great. I'm looking forward to that. We also, our next Masterworks concert coming up, Masterworks 3 in January. You want to talk about this just briefly?
Yes, we're delighted to have Abadajan Pratt with us. He's going to do a piece by Jesse Montgomery, a piece called Rounds, which is a wonderful piece. It's been played all over the country, and it has a bit of improvisation in it, which is very, very cool. And he's going to be doing a Bach piano concerto. We also have the winner of our uh, annual Ellis Beauregard Commission Award. Nathan Shield will have a world premiere on the concert, and we finish with music by Mendelssohn, the Italian Symphony, the Fourth Symphony, which we haven't had a chance to do here in quite a while. So it's going to be a real uplifting concert.
Sounds wonderful. Really looking forward to it. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this UBS Argosy Wealth Management pre-concert talk. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. I know I did. Lucas, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is going to be really great, and we will see you all at the concert, I hope.
Yes, we'll see you soon.